Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. Dave, if you can hear me loud and clear, just send me a message or send an emoji so that I can know that you can hear me loud and clear. If anybody can hear me loud and clear, just send an emoji. Okay, I assume you can hear me loud and clear. I assume you can hear me loud and clear. Good afternoon. It's me, Sulayman Ben Suwareh. Thank you, Koto City. Coming on live for a brief reaction, analysis actually to the response from Mamadi Kurang to the alleged charge against him from Amie Bensoders. And just to recap, I did an analysis on this when Amie Bensoders made the sent the charge against Kurang, and I said in brief, I said emotions might rise, but we should really critically look into what is transpiring in before us. And the background of this case have been going for a long time. And yes, two people are involved here, but it is often the national interest as well. It's often the national interest as well, because if these just a minute, yeah, just let me. Yeah, if these two people did not meet at the commission, working at the commission, I don't think they would have clashed to the point of taking legal actions or taking having this thing in the open. Now, then it's not about their personality alone, but it's about the public interest. Yes, to a limit, it's about each trying to defend themselves for their rights, or defend against what they perceive as someone, offense from someone else. But looking at it now, when I did my analysis, I said it is going to be, if it continue as expected, it can be a catalyst to change in the Gambia. It's going to affect the NPP. It's going to affect the political life of many people, and more so Talib Bensouda. I said this. I know many people, supporting Talib did not see that, or they don't want to admit that. Just pointing to no, it's nothing to do with Talib, it's to do with someone's, Talib's mom. But we should understand collateral damage, especially when it comes to political space, especially in this day and age of social media. We should think about this. But again, why do I say that? I did some references to cases that had happened in the Gambia, and a case that happened in the United Kingdom here, which is in the Gambia, the Asantix case, Sanamane, how that triggered curiosity and steer things within the PPP to the extent that people started to, really taking interest in a lot of issues that were internally being managed to push Jawara to the latter part, to control the narrative, to declare that he doesn't want to run anymore, or lead the party anymore, or lead the country anymore, which many people today now have read that the powers looking inside to see how loyal some people were or how to move forward. And we all know where it lasted. But again, we talk about Muhammad Al-Fayed taking, making allegations to certain MPs in the conservative government in the United Kingdom in the mid-90s. And where it ended is 18 years of the conservative government was, taken off government from the following elections. But very interesting to note here, why are these cases important to note is, and why this case is important to note is, many people remember Asante's case against Sehu Sabali, but Asantix did not only made allegations against Sehu Sabali, he made allegations against Sehu Sabali, and Sehu Sabali took him to court. He made allegations against Lamin Diallo Sonko. He made allegations against Nafar Saho, former minister, Lamin Nafar, I'm not sure whether it's Lamin, Nafar Saho, former late Nafar Saho. He made allegations against MC Cham. He made allegations against 4 ministers. The reason now why people only remember the Sehu Sabali case is because how that case turned out. The case against Lamin Diallo Sonko, if I can remember, Asantix lost that case. This is very, very important to note. Asantix lost the case, but end up losing the case. Nobody remembered Asantix lost that case. Why? Lamin Diallo Sonko was, it was ruled that the allegations that Asantix makes against Lamin Diallo Sonko were unfounded and they were not reasonable. But the judge did not punish Asantix, because end of the day, what Asantix did was to a public officer, which in the realms of democracy, there were not facts, but Asantix had the rights to make these allegations due to the circumstances that probably some of the information he could not get. This was one of the cases. The second case is, people would not realize, many people did not realize, that in fact Asantix broke down in the box under cross-examination. And the reason that led to the broken down in the this thing, because there's an element of Asantix story which was found to be the cross-examination, I think, was done by Raymond Sok, lawyer Raymond Sok, if I can, fully remember. Guys, this, I'm taking time to get memories from when I was very young. But what happened here is, it was found that the guy Diba, I think it's Ibu Diba, the guy who was at the cooperative union, Diba, who was running the cooperative, it was found that Asantix was Diba's classmate. They went to they did the same course together, but Asantix did fail. And the reason Asantix fell, when Ramon Sok put that to Asantix, that was, I don't want to point to Asantix is no more, but it was kind of the character of Asantix was really in question. His character was really in question, you see. But even though his character was in question, thinking that, okay, you went to a course with this gentleman turned out to be the managing director of this place, you both were working, but you are no more working there, now you are a freelance journalist. Now you made these allegations against this guy. Now what did Raymond Sok was trying to establish, that this guy have grudge. But look, it went beyond grudge, because of, at that time, Asantix provided receipts. You don't necessarily need receipts in such legal matters. You don't necessarily need receipts as a citizen. What happened there was, Asantix, provided receipts about some of the things that happened at the cooperative. And guess what? Within two years, cooperative technically went bankrupt. And this is important to note, that if Asantix allegations were taken properly and examined, it could have helped the PPP government to deal with issues that were growing the complacency, and allowing certain people to operate as they wish. Generally, we never had a government better than the PPP. Let's say that. But we are not holding on to be below the bar. We want to have a government far better. But this is just to note on things that might turn out in the courts. Things that might turn out in the courts. It's not going to be about facts alone. It's going to be about, about politics as well. That's why there will be a lot of casualties if we are not careful. And I said, I'm not saying careful for myself. No, the political casualty is something we want to see. We want to see a change through people who will held accountable. This is going to go further than what is it. Now, coming to the Kurang's response. Sorry, guys, I made a mistake. I thought if I invite people, they're just going to watch. But I don't know if they are going to join. But because I'm doing it brief. No problem. Now, when I went back and looked at Amie Bensoders file, and I came back and looked at Kurang's file. And when I made my analysis, I said, if Kurang move the argument onto freedom and how to call it, and the public interest, that's where the state will be held accountable. That's where the entire commission can be held accountable. He was going to move it away from, being a bond, to be limited to what Amie wants, is to let it be, to get Kurang to withdraw and silence him of this case. But that's not to our interest. We want to find we want to find more out of what have happened. And these are the facts we want to find. They might not come out of the court directly, but indirectly, it might lead to the facts coming out. Because this Barrow government, they are never going to give us facts. They will try to manage this as much as possible. But if the government become a casualty to this case, then probably with the next government, we can get to the facts. But we don't expect to get facts, in this case, because it's going to be more of political than facts. But again, they did a solid argument. Kurang lawyers, again, you need a decent lawyer to do these things. You don't really need a high-flying lawyer. It's a decent lawyer. And when I went through this, and shared ideas with certain people, they said, definitely, the representation of Kurang cannot be faulted. It's quite solid, quite solid. Now, Kurang have dared Amie to go to court. I am just analyzing. I don't think Amie want to go to court. I never thought that Amie really want to go to court. Why did she do that then? If she didn't want to go to court, these are some calculations people do. Yeah, she might be very experienced. She might have a team that supports her, very competent and everything. But mistakes do happen. Remember, the last word will always have to come from either Kurang or Amie. And with Amie, all the team around Amie, they might all say, "Don't do it," and Amie stubborn and say, "I'm going to do it." Probably based on emotions, probably based on, Amie is a very strong-willed person. She said, "I'm going to do it." But I never thought really, wanted this to get to the courts. We'll get to that. But now Kurang has forced Amie's hands to get to the courts. Because Kurang have just not only said no. And interesting here, I have seen some people lifted certain statements from the Kurang response, where the Kurang lawyers are positioning to say who Kurang is, what professional this is. This is normal. This is normal. That's why in the case of Asantix, in the case of Al-Fayed, what the other side was trying to do is to say that this person is just not, the character of the person have to be attacked. But now then Kurang have to position himself to say, look, this is not just a an ignorant person going around social media to make allegations. No, this is a professional who have a profession, who have achieved this much through his profession, who have actually involved in a very important case of finding facts, in the Ghana commissions and such. Then this is to position Kurang. These are things that would transpire. This is going to into court. That's why people say, "Oh, Kurang is trying to make it." No, this is. It's going to be political. It's going to be tactical and everything else. Push it, and the Kurang lawyers have done that. Right now, have they push it? Move. Hold onto his ground and refuse to accept any demands. None. He said that he's not going to apologize. He's not going to withdraw. All the demands that Amie makes. He said no. This is not going to happen. Now, the crock of the case. You see, when we look at it, if we are biased, if we are emotional, we are not going to understand what would transpire. Not only biased and emotional, if we are not familiar with this sort of trials, we are not going to understand what is going to transpire here. Ultimately, both of them will try to make a case, but there are going to be an educator that would be referring to make sure arguments are put in place, arguments are limited or reasonable to what is alleged here. And what is alleged here would not only going to be what is alleged here. My move on from different positions. My move from different positions. Why? Because again, we'll get to Kurang have made demands to move from different position. In the sense is the legal position would be where the judge or the magistrate, magistrate will be controlling the proceedings. The magistrate or the judge should not be biased, but doesn't mean that they are not going to be biased. I'm not saying they're going to be biased, but it can go either way. But they have to manage the proceedings, to hear from both sides the argument, and then that would lead to lead the judge or the magistrate to get to the conclusion that the person would rule on. But it's not only going to be in the courts, it's going to be in public opinion. It's going to be in public opinion. This is where it's very important now, and that's another battle. They're going to battle in the court, but they're going to battle in public opinion. That's where the political would be. Now, there are interest groups here. There's a government interest group here. The government is really in a tight corner now. The government would not want Amie Bensoders to come out victorious, but government will be mindful for Kurang to be victorious. That's why I said the government likely to be a casualty. There will be interest. There's another interest group that wants Kurang to be victorious, to punish Amie Bensoders for many personal reasons. Amie have a lot of people, as a senior lawyer, as a corporate lawyer, that felt, difference with her. They will do that. But that depends on how Kurang case transpired, or how Kurang handles this case, or Kurang lawyers handles this case. There's another group, which is of political nature, that wants Amie to, not to be victorious. For their political target, it's not Amie. It's Amie's son, Talib. It's going to be Amie's son, Talib. Let's remember that. There's a certain group, and this interest group is white. But I said the part from the government, they really, what they, I'm not giving them ideas, but what they would want to do is to see this come out of nothing. Because technically the government is on trial here. For this to come out of nothing. Because if this come out of nothing, then probably it will take the steam out of a lot of other allegations. This is not only about this allegation, this is about corruption, about everything else. Just as I said, in the Jawara days, when the Asantics came into the courts, now it was not about cooperative, and all these things now become about customs. Now Jawara was forced to throw something out. It became about the justice system itself, which I am not, far from by and others. You see, it became, this is how most people will not understand. This is when we talk about the far-reaching consequences of the Ashanti case. It started chip, and obviously the PPP started to really feel an internal, the temperature getting really heated, which have never happened in the time of the administration. And eventually they catapulate by Jawara going out and making that announcement without meaning it. I always say this: if Jawara have continued with internal democracy of the PPP and left office that time, Gambia would not have not likely experience a coup d'etat. We could have just evolved and continue as what we see today in Senegal. Bibi Dabo would have been capable, and as I said, few people don't like Bibi. Oh, Bibi Dabo cannot win election. No, you don't understand politics. I mean, if Barrow can be this unpopular and still be in power, then we have to understand the power of incumbents, especially in the setting that we have in the First Republic. And he could have ruled for 2 terms and another PPP person to take on, unless the PPP mishandle things, then an anti-establishment will come out. But an establishment would have never taken out the PPP. An establishment would have never taken out the PPP. And that's why in the absence of the establishment taking out the PPP, the army had to take out the PPP. This is why we advocate for democracy, to avoid our choices be taken by bandits from the army or anywhere else. That's why the things like 81 happen. But if we allow the space, then changes can be. Now, the politics will come into it. But again, other thing will come into it. The TOR. What is Amie Bensoders' role? What's supposed to be Amie Bensoders' role? The contract. Many people are saying, oh, Amie Bensoders was paid too much. In the case of Amie Bensoders compared to SFL, Amie Bensoders was not hired as an individual. SR was hired as an individual. Amie's farm, his chambers was hired. You see, just as you have SR, you have other legal people hired separately from SR. Then you have a kind of administration set up for this. Amie case is kind of a more different. It's like Amie having a contract. Now, do I know exactly what the contract is? No, I can't know that. But these are the kind of facts that will come out. Now, to show that, okay, Amie was paid this much because of what service she provided. But what service does Amie what service was Amie farm responsible of? That we know where it stopped. You know, there might be a thin line between Amie's role and the AG chambers. Remember, the AG chambers have the authority. Most of the authority, legal authority. If Amie is seen as an advisor or TOR an advisor, where does advice stop? An advisor does not mean that that person takes the legal responsibility. No. An advisor doesn't mean that that person will take legal responsibility. Amie might give advice, which might be wrong, or which might be less, whatever it is, but Amie cannot be held accountable to that. Amie cannot be held accountable for that. Those decisions are not taken by Amie. You see, the TOR will come to this. The TOR will come to this. Amie's contract and everything would come to this. And for the sort of contract Amie or the role Amie plays, there's she and her team will be immune to prosecution. Her and her team will be immune to prosecution. That means So most of what they do, no question, I mean, doesn't mean that they will not be accountable. You can hold someone accountable, but you cannot prosecute them. And the process of the accountability is these questions people asking online, these people engagement, and I mean, to an extent, what Kurang did. The reason I caveat to an extent because I don't know what Amie is going to really present to the courts. You see, this is another crux of what's going to be transferred here. But the major point here, though, is not the political is a major, TOR is a major, but there's more significant thing is if the allegations is of a nature of abuse of office. If I am saying caveat again because this is going to lead. I don't want to influence any public decision in any way that is detrimental to especially Kurang. I mean, if Kurang decided, this is where I said he should be very careful. He should be very careful. That's why when I made my analysis, I gave it example, my case against Bart Tambedu, when Bart thought that he can bully me to take me to court. All I did was ask Bart, I read it, how to call it again? Are you ready for disclosure? Because I am going to ask for disclosure, because I'm going to allege something I'm going to even accuse you, something I've not even alleged. That was when I said Binta was a close friend of Bart. That's what I read. That's what I written on the article. Binta Sisa was close friend of Bart, because I didn't want to go to private life of Bart Tambedu at that time. I just want it to be pointing to the conflict of interest. I was only pointing to conflict of interest. I cannot point to conflict of interest without pointing to what would make it conflict of interest. What will have made it conflict of interest is to say that Bar have conflict of interest here because of the relationship he has with Binta. But I could have gone even further to say that there was a romantic relationship between them, but it wasn't necessary at that time. What was necessary just to allege that, and if he was smart enough, he would have left it to that. I said that there is a paternal relationship between Binta and Bar. That's all I said. But he thought he can bully me to stop me from mentioning this thing anymore. And I said to him, are you ready for disclosure? Because I know more than you think I know between your relationships. I know places that you have been. I know where, in fact, most cases where when this case where when Binta and Alpha Barry are working on the deal, you were present at Alpha Barry's house. You were present. Most of the transactions were done at Alpha Barry's house. I know this, and this is the reason he never brought it public to say he's going to sue it. But in this case, if Kurang has anything that is a receipt to point to that Amie have abused the office and did something wrong. You see, this is where, again, if we look at the case in the United Kingdom, where Neil Hamilton, the minister, lied to the court and was charged for perjury, where, how to call it, the other minister, Atkins, Jonathan Atkins, lied to the court. He was charged for perjury and he was locked up. Now, if Kurang has any receipts to prove that Amie have done something improper, which would lead to something else, Amie will lose everything that she ever worked for. I'm not saying that Kurang has it, but if Kurang has it, these are the crux of, these are things we are looking at when they get to the courts. If Kurang have come and allege that the reason He has to write to the president. And if Batambedu is right that he wrote to the president directly, because of, I know that not only Amie, but the entire setup was wrong. And if I did not blow the whistle to the president, I assuming that I will blow to the president so that it will be taken care of. Because for these receipts, then Amie will be toasted. Amie will be toasted, Talib will be toasted, and the family name will be toasted, the brand will be toasted. This is where too I think that I thought, no, Amie would not dare to take this position if there are receipts, or if she have committed certain things, or knowing that it could be proven. These are points that would come to the this thing to prove that, look, the reason the sales were stopped from me Kurang doing the sales, is because of they wanted, I resisted to be part of what they wanted to do. And when they took it from me, the sales from me, they went and did this. Now, even to do this process, Kurang would be, again, if Kurang can prove that, look, I was given, I'm the secretary, the things I should, if, again, Kurang as the administrator went and physically conducted sales, if that is against the Kurang's TOR, and if Kurang did not have any authority, I'm saying if authority to conduct sales directly, then again, Kurang would be on the back foot. That's just what I said. Why I said Kurang would be on the back foot would be, again, you see, this is this empathy that will come out from the public opinion. But again, this is again where the judge will look at it. How did it come about? How did it come about? Did Kurang did this because of he wanted to do something illegal, or is it due to administrative mix-up that Kurang was allowed? Because if even Kurang want to do it, he would be allowed by the commission, the chair for that matter. Kurang was allowed to do that. If it was wrong and Kurang took part in that, how much responsibility would be directed to Kurang? These are points that will come. These are all the things that will come out onto that. Let's move on. The strength of Amie's case. Again, I am not looking at the legal here. I'm not looking at the legal in the courts. But as a layperson even, and something I have shared, this is not just my idea. I have shared discourse, actually. I have disclosed this case, Kurang's response with seasonal lawyers, corporate lawyers for that matter. And very experienced. And they think Amie have overplayed her hands. They think Amie have overplayed her hands. Because what Amie have put out there and the response from Kurang, that was the most important part, how Kurang was going to respond to this. And that's why when I did my analysis, I said, it depends how Kurang was going to respond to this. Is he going to bring it in the public, public interest and freedom for freedom of speech? Or does he have receipts? Because if you know that you don't have receipts, you have to know your limitations or where to and where you wanna case to be, how you wanna control the narrative of this case. Just as the Asantix had receipts on Sehu Sabali or allegations made against the cooperative union and so on. But Asantix never has receipts on Lamin Diallo Sonko. That's why Lamin Diallo Sonko won that case. But again, interesting, MC Cham never took legal action. MC Cham never took legal action. And that was to do with Louis Dias and the Banjul Serekunda road. And many people became casualty. MC did not take illegal action. All what happened was he lost his ministerial position. You see, this is again where Sadada was criticized. I mean, you let MC go, but you kept Sehu because of Sehu manipulated you and to ask you to stay in power. Then MC had to come back again to this thing, but I mean, he lost the position before. Then another case is, I mean, in that Louis Dias case, many people, Fafambai was the lawyer for Louis Dias after. And Fafambai became casualty twice on the Louis Dias case, which we don't want to go into now. It's not that. But just to explain, Fansun Nafasaho, Lamin Nafasaho, lost and exposed. That's where his political career ended, because he was seen as a philanthropist doing all this thing for his people in Badibu and other places. But it was found out that most of the things, I mean, he got was donated, and he have used them in other ways to his personal interest, as Asantics have alleged. I mean, now, if we think of the strength of Amie's case, again, it's going to be difficult to say that Kurang does not have a right. Again, I am saying, depend on what we know, what we have seen online that Kurang have put out there, and others. We might, I mean, there's no, it's not likely if the courts are not biased, and if the courts are biased, again, the damage would still be there for them. To say that Kurang doesn't have the freedom to ask questions. The questions might be insinuating something or not. But again, that's where the public interest comes in. Kurang, for his background, that's why I said that's why the lawyers have to put Kurang's background. He's not just a nutter. He's an accountant, he's this, and he had participated in this. He have participated and worked with you. And certain things have transpired. Depend how these things are presented again to the courts. Just as when Asantix lost the case against Lamid Diallo Sonko, Asantix was not punished. He was just, conditional discharge. Because again, Asantix made allegations that have no receipts, but again, it was reasonable for him to make those allegations. You see? And this is where you think of, why did Amie take this case? Why did Amie take this case? You see, this, I mean, when I talk about the pros and cons on Amie's case or Kurang's case. Amie, I think, did not want this case to go to court, and she oversold her position by going this deep, and there's no walking back for Amie. I would say there's no walking back, but it's very, very, very difficult. It cannot be a direct walking back. The walking back would be based on a very shrewd strategy, which Amie would not be seen as the benefactor of the walking back. How can that be done? Amie would figure that out. Amie and their team would figure that out. But if you ask me what I think, again, analysis, Amie would have regretted taking this case, the way she took this case. You see, if Amie did not take this case, I mean, the way she did, I'll tell you, many people would just say, look, Kurang is just agitating, because no substance was presented. It's agitation. It's something that many people have agitated. But the reason is Kurang was pounding on it for years, pounding week in, week out, which is really irritating. I know. It's really irritating on people. May I put in certain people's picture on an article? I can tell you from my experience. Some of them, their wives will call you and cry. But bala lo sumajikat. Nata maalam bi nawleem yaa ngi koo gis suma jëkkër li mais the picture one article they run to people that know you. Oh, why is Ben against my husband? Why Ben is against our family? They cannot handle it. But count in and out, day in and out, especially when that person is positioning in politics and your son is positioned in politics. You see, these are all things that might lead Amie to react the way she did, and probably against. I'm not saying she went against advice, probably against advice or not. At times, we might think that people are very wise, but again, people might be in the corner that they might take decisions very, very wrong, because now this case is going to be hard. Amie cannot walk away from this case. And what would be the outcome of the case? Amie cannot determine that in the courts and in the public opinion. The damage, what damage it is going to do to his son's political career, which meant a lot for Amie. Now, Kurang made a counterclaim. You see, this is where it's very interesting. That's why I said Amie have overplayed. Now, I don't know who, what Kurang lawyers have alleged there to say that they put out, whether probably they have proof of that. But interesting, in leading after the Amie's coming out, we saw allegations against Kurang being shared online. I think this is what Kurang is referring to. That, okay, Kurang did this and the commission did that. But what we didn't see, it was one-sided. I received it. I was probably one of the few forced to receive these allegations against Kurang. I did not see the response of Kurang. And I know that allegations like that will come with a response. It's in the same case, I have had a narrative of an audit report from the Minister of Health, and I did not touch it because I am looking for the response to the audit report. You cannot just use an audit report and you have not hear the side of the response of the audit report. Those people cropped out the response from the people alleged, and they went out there, and I know that was someone who was behind that to fight something in public. I'm not interested. I'm not interested. The same thing with the Quran. I said, I looked at it, I worked with my team, we evaluated and said, no, let's wait. There's something to come from this. And next minute, Quran came out with a response. Quran came out with a Quran came out with a response. The response that Quran did to the commission of these allegations came out. That came out. Now, this is the counterclaim now Quran had made, which has threatened Quran's position of this argument. Again, now it's about the public interest. You see, now this is where a judge or magistrate will look at it and say, yeah, obviously, if this person feels maligned this way and that person said this, reasonably the person have the rights to come out and say some of these things. You were saying that this person has said this to you, but now depends on how the judge looked at it and said, but you went and said this thing about that person. You said this about that person. The counter this thing now have to force Amie, which again will lead to say that Amie overplayed her hands in getting that paragraph in, because that paragraph would need receipts. It's an allegation. Now, if looking at Kurang's response, you would wonder how that ruling is going to go. This is what led people to believe that Amie overplayed the hands. Now, Amie would likely have to go to court. Now it's up to Amie to go to court, and it's up to Kurang to follow with this case. If Amie did not go to court, would Kurang go to court? Yes, I believe so. And if I was in Kurang's position and with the confidence that I see him portray, if that confidence is true to him, I will see Kurang going to court. Because if Amie blinks, it's a poker game now. This is what happened in these cases. It becomes a poker game. I cannot see Amie blinking now. If Amie blinks, that's admission. Just I said, that's why when I went to coffee time with Barrow, I said, let Barrow blink. Let Barrow not blink. If he blinks, it's an admission. If they blink, it's an admission. If Amie blinks now, it's an admission, and that would be detrimental. Why? Because as I said, Kurang is posturing politically. Kurang is posturing politically. This would be an ammunition. And the people that are against Amie's mentality, even the government would rally around. This is what I think, knowing how they think and how government would think. They might not show their hands directly, but indirectly at certain level, they might want a narrative to continue that Kurang is putting out. I'm not saying directly you're going to work with Kurang to make that happen, but again, if you have an interest, you know how to pursue that interest indirectly. The government would want to believe that actually the entire problem of this thing was this very powerful woman in the middle of it, and the involvement of Batambedu, who's no more in government. This is the narrative they want to put in. It's nothing to do with Barrow. It's nothing to do with our government, which is a lie. Because Barrow, again, I will say this. Barrow, Batambedu, Binta Sise met at State House because of Batambedu took Binta Sise. Binta Sise saw an opportunity and pounced on this thing to make it quick and make it easy. They went to the State House and Batambedu introduced Binta to say that I got this lady, is a friend, and we can do this, do that. We should not allow finance to get handle of this. This is, again, because of there's a fight between Batambedu on finance. This is how I got to know most of the things that happen. People ask, oh, this is how I know. Normally, it's them, they themselves fighting each other. But this happened. And this is how Binta, who is very close to Alpha family and other these things, got Alpha to come in. This is why Binta registered her company, 2 months before the sales start on those properties. Binta never had a company that would have been legitimate in that. If company he had before was cleaning company or something like that, I don't think she ever had a contract on that. That's why if anyone go and look at the tax receipts, go and look at the tax receipt at the GRA. After the sales of the looted stuff from Jammeh, did that company pay any tax? Because no, it went inactive. It was created for that. And where things fell off is where Barrow realized. The finance people said to Barrow, you see, this is what we've been telling you. Batambedu brought a girl, that he's dating. That's he's dating. And remember, there are properties that we still cannot find, and those properties Batambedu and Barrow know about them. That's why people who are trying to challenge me, oh, how can Barrow these things? There's so much more. That's not going to come into from these courts. That's why I say the courts are not going to determine that. It's going to be limited to certain things, but the public opinion can get into, we get in there. By getting the pressure here now to Barrow to yield, but Barrow might not yield because of the pressure that we need might not come out. But what we can do is the narrative to bring about change to the ballot box. That is possible. You see, when Jawara cornered the ballot box, we could not bring about change because of his popularity. I'm not saying that because yes, Jawara's popularity, we could not have won. What happened? It yielded another way. But in the UK here, the Conservative, the Labour came and it yielded for them. This is possible in Gambia. But I cannot see Amie walking back. But Amie going into, it's going to be expensive for Amie's character and other things. Just as I said, because of what Kurang have now counterclaim and the position of the public interest and freedom of speech. This is again, and we don't know. Kurang might have even receipts, and if Kurang have receipts for abuse, because I did not see, for me, I did not see directly. I mean, where direct allegations are made about abuse. Yes, I mean, it's been pointed to, but if you have receipts and come out with that, that will be toasted. Now, negotiations and settlements. Negotiations and settlement. Negotiations can happen, but it's not going to be direct negotiations. No, because Kurang is not going to negotiate now. Now, how can Amie make Kurang to negotiate? I'm not going to share that. I'm not saying it's going to work, but if you had to do that, that's the route you have to go through. And Amie would know that. But would Amie want to do that? Because down the line, it might be found out. Because it's not going to be direct, it's going to be indirect approach. That indirect approach would have to make sure the Bensouda family itself, not Amie, Bensouda family to insulate themselves and use intermediaries and go certain ways. But that too, even the chances for that happening is too nil. Because Kurang will be, you're just realizing that, hence I am not the originator. I did not suggest for negotiations. If anybody comes to me, it will be coming from Amie. If either he have evidence, is directly or indirectly, he can assume that no, these people are not looking for my interest. If anything, I got to this, and he's looking at what he perceived to gain from this. You see, this is the position we are now. Negotiations is technically out of the way. The settlements, I see people looking at the figures. No, figures are just figures. What justified that damage? What justified that damage? I mean, cannot justify that claim, but that's what they do. That's why I said overselling. If Amie had just made demands, no monetary damage or anything, but Amie would see that if I do that without monetary damage, the boy might not budge. I have to put the fear of God in him. The boy might not budge. If I just put it subtly, saying that I am demanding withdrawal and stuff like that, some people might think strategically that should have worked. How would that work? Is you're going to amplify that by getting people to make sure Kurang would think another way. But again, Kurang is stubborn. You see, when you are in the public space, this is all that will come with it. And thick skin would have dealt with this easily. Keep on ignoring would have done. If I was Amie or advised Amie, I would keep on ignoring. Keep ignoring. The claim of damage, brand damage and everything else, if it's not tested in court, there's no corporate institution that will take decisions because of someone is keep on alleging on Facebook that Bensouda is a bad person. No, especially someone of Amie's corporate character. Remember, I said corporate character. It's corporate character, the corporate world knows things do. Corporate world, you think the corporate world is a just world? No, they know. What the corporate world is after that, if there are no receipts to hold on to you, or they are not going to be tarnished directly, they don't care. If you can do their job properly, that's what they want. And I don't see any of those engaging Amie services that would have withdrawn their services from Amie because of, a gentleman on Facebook is continuing to agitate Amie. The gentleman did not take Amie to court and won a case against Amie. I don't think so. That's why I said it overreacted. Nobody. They can make allegations as much as, and if it comes to even trying to tarnish it to Amie's son, Talib, that would be seen as political. The corporate would not be corporate, this would not interested. I've not known anybody in Banjul that would have given Amie a job yesterday, a contract yesterday, or whatever it is, or because of the allegation from this thing, I'm not going to give it to Amie. No. You might not give it to Amie for other reasons, but not because of someone have alleged. I don't know of any businesses or anything. They might look at the cost and say, no, the cost is too much. I'm not going to give it to him for this kind of thing. I think I can do with a average lawyer. But they will not say, I'm not giving it to Amie because of someone is alleging certain things to Amie. And not actually something that it can be seen directly. This is the thing, and it's going to be a legal battle. And we should brace up and again welcome this case, because it will get us somewhere. As I said, selfishly, now, I was really worried about where Kurang was standing. But as I said, if he organized himself, the only two areas that Kurang now have to prove. You see, I have seen people trying to, certain people having problem that, or some people had made fundraising for Mustafa and the fundraising was really successful. Look, it takes two things for that to happen. You have to win the confidence of people. Mustafa Swandi won confidence of the people. It's an easy sell. The second thing is you need people that will believe in Mustafa in order to sell it to people that believe those people selling it. The message and the messenger are very important. This is what transpired with the Republic's fundraising, not Mustafa, even Republic fundraising, because multiple Republic have built from Mustafa being in Malijan, and since he left Malijan, we have seen his impact in the discourse from the publication he have done. The sand mining is just the second one. We can remember so many, from pedophilia to, let's go through it. He's solid. Now it's easy to sell that person. That's one thing. The product is good, but to sell that product to, you have activists. You see that jumped in, and people from the political divide supported the move. This is why, again, two things are important, which even more so now is the people that Kurang is continue to associate with. People that Kurang will continue to associate with, that he would choose to associate with. If money matters, if I see certain people doing a fundraising and I see the prominent people doing the fundraising, if I think my money is not going to go to the right place, I'm not going to put it. I might be empathetic to the case, but I might be discouraged. I'm just saying, I'm just giving an example. That's how other people perceive it. The fundraising is very important. Even the lawyers are pro bono, I think will come with cost. Many costs because of his even Kurang's own personal costs and other things. The second thing is the public relations. Very careful how you position yourself. Hence, you have taken that this is about the political realm. Yes, the public interest. Keep it to the public interest. The political capital come after effect. Don't try to put the political capital in front of the, no, it will put people off. It will put people off. That's why your public relations have to be top-notch. Because you are not going to only want to win in the courtroom, you want to maintain the public interest. You want to and gain from that public interest or political capital. If you don't win the public discourse, you are toasted. That's the challenge Amie have now. Amie can go out there and win the courtroom, but if Amie does not win the public opinion, there's a lot of damage that comes with it. Political damage will continue. This is Amie had more to lose here than Kurang. That's why when politicians look, if I have more to lose here, why would I engage? I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to engage. It will come to that. And it's going to be, I say, people that Kurang choose to associate with. Now, there's a group, the Gala position. Now, yes, Gala is not on trial, but by association, that Kurang, I think he's still a member of Gala. He might not be executive member. Now we have to look at what role Gala can play in support of the public opinion and support of Kurang. Not only support of Kurang, but support of the public opinion, because this is a cause they are fighting. That's why you cannot separate Gala, not in the courtroom, but in the public discourse, Gala would have to take a position, and position Gala takes would be to stand with Kurang, so that the public opinion can keep on going, and probably consequences of from there, or the outcome from there, will be far-reaching to get to the state and get to the accountability they want before elections or through the elections, be the catalyst of elections outcomes that will guarantee guaranteed a government and a system that will bring about the facts and everything be fixed. Now, that's where Gala too, for their own position, if they want to maintain and be relevant, that's why I was against when they started to talk about port authorities. I said, no. Solidify your gain here. Get the contractions and move with this. In fact, when they came out about port authorities, certain things were not right. Concentrate here. And Gala, that's where they can go on to bring about the change they call for. It's not only about this case. It's not only about the Jani Commission, but the Jani Commission will be the foundation. And then rupture. Ask for change and meaningful change. Not only change, meaningful change. This is where Yanamar came into perspective. People that remember Yanamar, they came out for, asking for change, a rupture. And they started to challenge anything what the government did against the third term, against this. But for them, the rupture was about the third term. They hold on to the third term, and they were the catalyst, I can tell you, for Wada to lose. Because when they hold on to the third term and against the coronation of Karim Wada to take over from this thing, now what other groups were doing is now corresponding this to corruption of Karim Wada being so much powerful in the in this government, and the corruption with Karim Wada and the group around Karim Wada and the mafia and everything else. That's how it went on. Macky Sall came out of that government. They saw the possibilities. Government of Ablai Wada, as a former interior minister, as a former a mayor for that party, as a former prime minister, as a former campaign manager, as prime minister for the previous election, but as a speaker of the house, where Macky Sall strategically took things to rebrand himself. To do what? Call for that accountability. Because Macky Sall have seen what was brewing, and Yanamar being the small engine. It was a small engine. But knowing that that small engine can resonate because where they were. And in order for Macky Sall to tap in that, you see, the president of President Assemblée Nationale in Senegal is more it's not this time round. Previously, it's more powerful than the prime minister because it was the next succession to the throne. Macky Sall was not given a small position. And the packs that come with the President National, Assembly National, the packs in the means of the salary, the allowances, this president, you have like a president, home, you have, the protocols, you have everything as the successor to the president. And every protocol that this thing is huge. So this will remind me of a family friend. I know the uncle was the president, one of the longest serving, respected president from Senghor to Abdou Diouf. The chap was even named after him, Amadou Cissé. Pray. In those days in Senegal, you said pray. The minute you say pray, everybody know you're talking about President Assembly National because of the dignity that he carried in office. Pray. Only pray. If you say in Dakar, pray, they know that you are referring. Just now, if you say prof, people know you are referring to for Sonko. Prayer was like that. And the political divide, not the opposition, it respected. Macky Sall, that's what he has. And Macky Sall could have hold on to that and even get to something else. He could have looked at, okay, let me just not rock the boat. Let me stay here. Even if I retire here, I have achieved everything and I will accumulate wealth and everything. But because of his ambitions, what he did, he defied Wada by calling Karim Wada to come and testify for corruption. OIC contracts, other contracts and other things, aviation contracts and others. You see how he tapped into Yanamar? You see how he tapped into Yanamar? And when he did that, obviously the power be of the president used the parliament to kick him out. This is what he was looking at. At that time, he have a partner, ABC, and they went. When people were demonstrating in Dakar, around Dakar, or the cities around Dakar, Macky Sall was not there, because remember he have the institutional memory. He was in charge of the last campaign as Prime Minister for Abdoulaye Wade. He went round and knocked on the doors and everything, prepare himself. And the time he reached back to Dakar, Yanamar was on tip. Yanamar was hit, and Macky Sall came and started attending demonstrations from afar. And this is how he became the anti-establishment, and establishment become anti-establishment. Now, if you understand, again, that's how politics is. And inshallah, tomorrow we'll touch some of it, and we'll come on Askan Radio to understand. We need to look at the political atmosphere we have now. There's something interesting developing. And I hope some people looking at Bob Keita, I hope they are not looking at this personally. I think there's something else going on here. And why I say that, go and look at what they call it, what something Dabo, the philanthropist, what's his name again? Turo Dabo. Go and look at what Turo Dabo is doing. Go and look at what Bob Keita is doing, and understand the dynamics. Why would the president, who was interested, I'll tell you, that's a fact, who was interested in seeing Bob Keita go to prison? I tell that's a fact. Because there's something there. For that president, after the case collapsed, because there's no justice there. There's no justice for Bob. There's no justice for the child that's been killed or anything. Everything is just God knows. We have to respect the judiciary to say that if someone declared the thing with but the proceeding and everything is crap. The end of the case, it was a political will. Political outcome of the case. It's not a legal outcome, because nobody punished for everything that happened. That's not a legal outcome. It was a political settlement. But the reason for that person to come out of there and be invited by the president, and the president personally giving a foreign currency $10,000, Gambians, let us not be personal. Let us be critical. Let's understand the people we're dealing with. No support. I've never spoken to Bob directly or indirectly. Never. Never. I have no interest in his personal life or anything, but in the public interest. Let's not allow these people. Guys, I mean, that's what I want to say. That, and Galak have to learn a lot from what have transpired. Again, they can learn a lot because we all know where Yanamar have ended. When Maki assumed office what he did to Yanamar, now they are irrelevant. But again, that they can learn from that and keep their relevance as a pressure group, as civil society, and so on and so forth. Thank you very much, guys. We'll have a good